Okay, so this is the second installment in thoughts that I have. Something that really, quite frankly, gets under my skin. I think it's important to share what that is. Going to be talking simply about the dynamic between men and women, males and females, boys and girls, etc., because to a large extent it starts young, and I don't think it changes depending on the nature of the relationship. So I'm going to discuss two aspects. There are many, but just going to focus on two for the time being. The first one is control, people's need to exert it, to have dominion over other people. And the second one is people's unrealistic expectations of their partners. To a large extent, these overlap, but let's see where we go with this. Now, control to me is the most interesting one, because underneath control is always a question of trust. People don't need to control people when they trust them, unless, they're megalomaniacs or have some sort of psychological disorder. But people don't control people just for the hell of it. Power mongers, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a relationship here. And if you need to control someone, the implication is that you do not trust that person. No, I don't get it. And based on what I've seen around me, I sometimes feel like I'm the only one who thinks this, because it appears apparent to me that in almost every single relationship, and I'm not talking about your grandparents who, stayed together for 50 years. I'm not talking about that stuff, because that generally is pretty rare these days. But in every relationship, there just seems to be a trust element, a link that is missing. And it's this missing link that leads to so many problems down the line. And what I want to discuss is how illogical this process is. Because if you think about it, when people start going out, when people are in the initial stages of a relationship, there's a level of acceptance. You accept the other person for who they are, you accept the way they think, etc. You let them go out, you try not to be too needy, blah, blah, blah. Now, to me, logically, I would consider it to be more of a concern when you don't know the person, because you're not aware of their habits, what they do, etc. And then as the relationship progresses, as you start to understand them as a person, then surely you will know their characteristics and be able to trust them more. To me, time should make people trust each other more. Yes, of course, intermittently there may be things that happen, etc., that might challenge this. But if you understand someone, and people should understand each other over a period of time, because inherently, leopard doesn't change its spots. Sorry, people for the most part stay the same. Nothing changes. Environments change, excuse me, circumstances change, but people stay the same inherently. And if people are staying the same, then surely the more time you spend around them, the more you're going to get to know them. And surely the more you get to know them, the more you're going to trust them. How does this not make sense? How is it possible? The only aspect that I consider to kind of throw a spanner in the works is that as people develop, the relationship carries on, then feelings become people become a lot more invested in the relationship on an emotional level, which means that if things do go pear-shaped, if things don't work out, then people have a lot more to lose from this. I do understand that as a concept. I try to live my life by freedom from attachment, but it's not easy. People are attached to other people. So yes, that makes sense. But when this lack of trust is so chronic that it makes people become paranoid, insecure, start to dominate people, and again, this is where the control aspect comes in, then that to me is illogical, doesn't make sense, and should be addressed. It is not anybody's right in a relationship to tell another person what to do. yes, compromise is important. There has to be compromise in a relationship. People have to express themselves. People have to say what they're thinking, etc., etc. There has to be openness. But it is not, there's still, still two separate entities. Regardless of what happens, you are still your own person. Now, why should it all of a sudden be acceptable to succumb to the whims of someone else who's telling you how to behave in a way that is not you? What does that say about your character, about your belief in yourself? Why should you tolerate that? If you have a moral compass, if you know that what you're doing is not wrong, why should you allow somebody to dictate who you spend your time with, what you do, when you can go out, if you can? Come on, get real. To my mind, and there are many reasons, but one of the main causes, particularly now, and with the younger generation, of these insecurities is Facebook. Don't know so much about Twitter, but celebrities generally get into a hell of a lot of trouble with Twitter, which again I find. But as far as Facebook's concerned, people often log into each other's accounts, or not log into their accounts as in steal their passwords. What I mean is log onto their pages, have a look at comments, see if they've been appropriate. Look for little things like if you put XX, how can you put that? That's inappropriate. Maybe the person's going to misinterpret that. Or what does it say about our relationship? You should only reserve that for me. What are letters on a keyboard? Okay, first of all. And secondly, why should you be even concerned with what your partner's doing? If you trust them from the beginning, why should you even care what it is that they're engaging in? Who are they talking to on Facebook? Personal opinion, in a relationship, both people should block each other. There should not be one's homepage, one's profile page is private. There are certain aspects of your life that need to remain private. You need to be your own person. There's some things that your partner shouldn't know about you. People have secrets that possibly will never come out of the closet. People can be dark. People can have morose thoughts. You don't have to reveal everything. And with Facebook, it's just there for everyone to see. And that is a major concern. The most extreme example of something that I consider to be beyond inappropriate is someone requesting to look at someone's cell phone in order to check their text messages to make sure that they're not flirting with someone else. What? It's your cell phone. Isn't that one step down from your diary? And then the same people will say, "Oh, I'm prepared to have them look because there's such a level of trust in the relationship." Come on. If there's such a level of trust in the relationship, then why do you even need to show them? What a load of rubbish. It's amazing how people can justify the most illogical behavior and actions with sweeping statements. Incredible. So, carrying on from that, moving on to the next topic quickly, is the aspect of expectations. Again, don't get it. It boils down to the fact that, from what I've seen, the longer relationships go on, the greater the expectations people place on their partners, the more they expect them to behave in ways that they consider appropriate within their paradigms. Now, I find this problematic on many levels. Just off the top of my head, people have different upbringings. People have different genes. People have different personalities, character, you name it. Now, how is it the right of the other person in the relationship? How is it their right to tell that person how to behave? To tell them, I consider this right. I consider this to be appropriate. And I will only accept it if you now fit your life into mine. And of course, when one side starts, almost inevitably, it'll come from the other side. It becomes a tit for tat. why do we expect so much from each other? Surely it's our differences. Surely those are things that we should focus on. If you want to be stagnant, if you don't want to grow as a person, then yes, find someone who thinks exactly the same as you do, or find someone who's completely obsequious, acquiescent, whatever verb you want to use or adjective you want to use. Someone who just follows and does whatever the hell you want. Okay, fine. Find that person. You'll be bored as hell if you have half a brain, but rather have that person who's happy to just follow you like a sheepdog than somebody who you went into a relationship with knowing that they had a certain character and then try and change them and manipulate them into the way that you consider to be appropriate, into doing things that work for you. It's not all about you. It's not all about them. But there has to be, people just have to lower their expectations, because the higher the expectations, the more people get disappointed, the more miffed people become because people are not doing what they expected. And again, this is destructive behavior. When I say expectations, I'm not talking about extreme examples. I'm not talking about things that are completely immoral. Not general common decency. You find out that your partner engages in something that is just wrong. I mean, I think everyone to a large extent has a fairly good moral compass. Most people, or a lot of people, ignore it, but I think everyone knows what it is. So I'm not talking about those scenarios. I'm just saying, if you want to grow together, if you want to learn, if you want to expand your knowledge, then why is it that you would want to force somebody to behave in the way that you want, and why would you have expectations of that person to do so? Again, it doesn't make sense. So anybody who's watching this, if you can give me some feedback, maybe you can change my mind. Maybe you can explain to me how this does make sense. Of course, I understand it on a psychological level. I'm not going to go into detail about that. I'm just posing the question, making the comment. This is to a large extent the state that we live in with regards to the dynamics between men and women, and it needs to change. It's illogical, it's destructive, and I'm sorry, if we are the sentient, intelligent creatures that we claim we are, surely something of that nature needs to be fixed, and we have the ability to do something about it. So I'm not going to carry on. Could do so for hours. Not going to, but yeah, that's pretty much where I'll end it. As I said, if you have any comments, please don't hesitate to let me know. Cheers.